I like to call this movie Godzilla vs. the stock footage. Now, before I explain to you non-Godzilla people what that means, let's go over what the movie's about. Godzilla vs. Gigan is about a comic book artist who basically designs a bunch of monsters for a kaiju theme park with probably the worst name in the world called Children's Land. The only thing that's built is a Godzilla tower that's built to scale of the real Godzilla. But unfortunately, it turns out that the people there are in fact aliens, and they summon King Ghidorah and Gigan to come to Earth and basically destroy Tokyo and wreck shit. Why is it every time there's a monster attack, either Tokyo or New York is the first city to go? I never understand that. Somehow, through a weird series of events, Godzilla gets the idea that something's wrong, so he and Anguirus leave Monster Island to Tokyo to stop Gigan and King Ghidorah. Now, the reason I joked at the beginning of this review that this movie should have been retitled Godzilla vs. Stock Footage is because half the monster battle in this movie consists of stock footage. I mean, it contains stock footage from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Invasion of the Astro Monster, and Destroy All Monsters. Wow, all the movies that have the word monster in them. What a coincidence. This means a lot of weird day and night transitions. The Godzilla and Ghidorah suits will change because as the movies go on, Godzilla looks different. For this movie, they had to make a newer, cheaper looking Ghidorah suit. There's even stock footage that accidentally shows Mothra and Rodan, who don't appear in this movie. So that's pretty much like a oops. The score is non-existent because it's basically reused cues from past movies that Akira Ifukube scored. Whether it's a Godzilla movie or another Toho science fiction movie, it shows up in this movie as the film's score. Surprised the soundtrack wasn't called Best of Akira Ifukube. Though I will say it's good to hear his music as opposed to the bizarre music from Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Speaking of bizarre, there's a weird moment in this movie where, I shit you not, people who have not seen a Godzilla movie, Godzilla and Anguirus talk. Yes, there are a couple scenes in this movie where the two monsters talk to each other. And it gets weirder. In the Japanese version, not only do they talk to each other, but there are speech bubbles that pop up over their heads like you would see when reading a comic book. The video of it is on YouTube. Here's a link in the description box. Go check it out. And all I have to say for that is, if you thought Bane and Batman were hard to understand in The Dark Knight Rises, try listening to Godzilla and Anguirus in this movie. Now, after hearing that rant of stock footage, you're probably thinking to yourself, those cheap bastards. Well, yeah, in the sense they were cheap, but at the time this movie came out, the Japanese film industry was going through some problems. I mean, like for Toho, for example, they were releasing all their actors from contract by 1970. The special effects director for Godzilla and all the other movies up until 1968, Eiji Tsuburaya, had passed away before the release of All Monsters Attack. So, in his place was his assistant, Teruyushi Nakano. But, again, because the Japanese film industry was not at its highest peak, they had to rely on a bunch of stock footage to basically make the movies longer. But, I mean, it still doesn't excuse the fact that it's not a good movie. Though, like All Monsters Attack and Godzilla vs. Hedorah, there are some stuff that I kind of do like about this movie. Again, the monster fight, despite being half stock footage, is fun to watch. And it did introduce the tag team monster battle, something that the video games Destroy All Monsters Melee, Save the Earth, and Unleashed would do, where basically two monsters team up to fight two other monsters. And then the big saving grace for this movie is Gigan, who I swear is only famous because of the way he looks. Gigan is to Godzilla what Shockwave is to Transformers, or what Boba Fett is to Star Wars. The reason he's only as famous as he is probably based on his design. which I don't blame him. Gigan's one of my favorite monsters. It's just a shame he had to be in this movie as his introduction, but oh well. So in the end, Godzilla vs. Gigan is not particularly a good movie. I can't recommend it to just someone off the street, but it's more tolerable than the past two Godzilla movies, so I would say watch at your own risk. Alright, quickly before I end this review, as you admire the fact that it's now foggy outside, a little bit of trivia about this movie. This was the last movie that the original Godzilla suit actor would be in, and then the suit actor who played Gigan would take over the role of Godzilla in this movie, and we'll get to that movie later. But that's just a little bit of trivia I thought you might like to know. And that's my review for Godzilla vs. Gigan. If you've seen the movie, comment, let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you think I'm full of shit, whatever the case. Comment below, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.